I've been playing Illuvium Zero for a couple years now, and I've gotten pretty decent at putting a plot together, so I've challenged myself. How fast can I take an empty Tier 1 plot to getting my first blueprint? Let's find out. As always with any plot, you have to get your Nexus down first, get that thing down, then follow that up with your engineering workshop. This way you can start getting your gatherers going, and then hard focusing, leveling up your Nexus. If there's one tip that I can give you, in terms of Illuvium Zero, is leveling up your Nexus and focusing your Nexus as much as possible. Of course, after that, once you get your gatherers down, you do need the power plants to be able to power them. In this instance here, I also do realize that I'm going to be heavily behind on carbon in particular, so I buy a carbon converter relatively quickly. And then after that, just a matter of letting my buildings run. I'm connecting the roads just to get a little bit of extra time off every action. And eventually, I get enough carbon to get up to Nexus level 2. Sooner rather than later, the Nexus did end up finishing, so we're now at Nexus level 2. Next thing we gotta do though is get a bunch of carbon. I do have the storage space for it, but just getting that much carbon is taking a long time, especially with how quick these gathering times are for our resources. We're just not getting enough because it's so quick. So I do need to upgrade these. We're gonna get that engineering workshop leveled up, do a little bit of cleanup here with my roads, get another one of those carbon converters, grab a few extra power plants as well just to help with the efficiency on my gatherers and converters, and then eventually, after a few minutes, we're able to get to Nexus level 3. Now while the Nexus is upgrading, I also take this opportunity to build a couple converters and upgrade my extractors. Eventually, once the Nexus is completed, I take the opportunity to build a couple more buildings here. First, another carbon converter, because I'm going to absolutely need some, and then as well getting the carbon storage space, because I need that for this next upgrade here onto Nexus 4. I believe you need about 10k. Yeah, there we go. 10k is necessary in order to get the job done. So get that going. And then I realized I did make a bit of a mistake here. Unfortunately, my one new carbon converter wasn't actually powered. So we throw a power station there to get it underway. We do have an additional silicon converter here as well. And we do eventually, after about an hour or so, get going with Nexus level 4. Then similar to last time, while the Nexus is upgrading, this is when I take the opportunity to upgrade these converters. Upgrade complete, but now it's on to Nexus level 5, and this is where one of our first big roadblocks kind of show up here, because this is the first time one of our upgrades actually require fuel. So getting that 2 Hyperion is going to be a bit of a pain. We've got a bunch of buildings that we have to make because of it, including the quantum fabricant, and then the actual converter itself, and just frankly having the storage space to be able to even make any of this. So I get the buildings necessary to make sure we have enough storage space for all of our resources, and then I do a little bit of a building revamp, and then fill up the rest of my structure slots with power stations to help with the efficiency for my gatherers. After that, it's just a matter of saving up for our engineering workshop upgrade, which we do go through with pretty quickly. Then after that, it's just a matter as well of upgrading our storage buildings, because we have 2 big expensive upgrades that we have to do. The Nexus, of course, but we also need the quantum fabricant itself in order to even get fuel in the first place. The storage buildings eventually finish, and then we do save up enough resources to finally get our quantum fabricant down. Once we complete that, we do again have to wait quite a little while here in this day in order to get enough hydrogen so that we can actually build our extractor. And that wrapped up day 1. Day 2 is basically just collecting my gatherers and then finally getting my first set of fuel from the extractor and starting the Nexus upgrade. So going into day 3, we finally do get Nexus 5 completed. To get to level 6 though, we need over 100,000 carbon. We're going to have to upgrade our storages and likely add yet another storage center here for carbon in particular. And once that part is done, it's just a matter of waiting for the upgrades to finish and gather resources again. So I take the opportunity to essentially tear my city apart and start thinking about my long-term layout that I would like to do. Basically trying to get the roads to be able to touch as many buildings as possible without being redundant. What I personally like doing is going essentially 2 buildings wide and then having roads on the outside. This way there's never any buildings trapped in the middle that will end up not counting towards your road efficiency bonus. Then after that's done, it's just a matter of filling up the rest of my structure slots with power stations to help with the efficiency, gathering more on every single cycle on all of my gatherers, converters, etc. So when all's said and done, it looks something kind of like this. On to day number 5, we're still waiting on a couple of resources here in order to get our next Nexus upgrade. Specifically, need enough carbon to make it happen. So we need to continue to upgrade our carbon silos. And one problem I was coming across was that I was having an abundance of silicone and just didn't really have anywhere to spend it. So I got a little bit ahead of myself. I took away one of my power stations to make room for a Solon converter so I don't have to do it later for the engineering workshop upgrade. The next couple days weren't very eventful. It was just a matter of gathering resources and chopping down plants. I tell you what, I was getting really sick of chopping down plants, but it all became worth it in the end as I was finally able to get some fuel onto my Hyperion extractor. But of course, this upgrade takes 12 Hyperion to actually do, so the last couple of days were a lot of resource collecting and a lot of waiting on those fuel extractors to actually finish and start gathering. After that, we were finally able, in day 10 here, to get 12 Hyperion. Then it was just a matter of waiting on a few more converters and chopping down a few more plants, and we were finally able to get this Nexus up to Nexus level 6. Let that happen overnight, but now it's going to be the other resources that are going to be the big. We do need the silicon, and then we do need the hydrogen as well, so getting those storage facilities built in the first place and then actually upgrading them is going to be a must. We're also going to need to upgrade that engineering workshop to not only help our storages, but our extractors now as well, because they are kind of falling behind a little bit. A couple days of upgrades of the storage facilities does finally get us close to where we need to be. We just need a little bit more in terms of our carbon storage. Then on day 17, we finally have enough resources saved up here for fuel and everything else to be able to finally get our Nexus up from 6 to 7. We do also have a bunch of additional resources as well to upgrade our quantum fabric, so I could finally upgrade this Hyperion extractor to get a bit more on each run. While the Nexus was upgrading, a few things of course did happen. I did upgrade the Hyperion extractor. I added a krypton converter as well, because I'll eventually start needing some krypton when I'm just going to start upgrading my Hyperion converters, because that's the thing. Now that we're here at Nexus level 7, we do get 50 additional structure spots, which is the perfect spot to then start adding on your additional passive fuel generation. So because I have a Hyperion extractor, the Hyperion converters do get a bonus if you're near it, and that is where I am going to kind of get started here. I'm going to build all 12 of these Hyperion converters and then space them out as best as possible. You need 6 spaces between each converter to not get a penalty for having too many converters close to each other. So I space it out as best as possible, get the roads all intact as well. And of course, even after doing this, I still have a lot of space in terms of structures. So now I can just start spamming out power stations, make everything as efficient as possible. And we needed that efficiency big time, because now we're here. We need to get the scanners. The next building we do get to make over 1 million silicone necessary in order to build this, but we need it in order to get the biodata for the blueprint in the first place. So again, right back to upgrading storages, collecting resources because it does require a bunch of fuel as well. Going into day 29, we also build our material research lab, which is going to be necessary because that's what actually gets you the blueprints from the biodata. Going into day 30, it's just a matter of getting everything collected. We finally have enough fuel to send this thing off. 30 days, 1 month into building this plot, we finally have our first scan going. What was absolutely crazy though, the next day, we actually found the Archie biodata right on the first rip. The chances of that happening is so low, so to be able to get it is incredible. I start sending my research off in the materials research labs immediately, because this is the perfect opportunity. If we can get this quick, it must be a record of some point out, right? But the first few tries doesn't go into our favor. I even built a second research lab to try and expedite the process. Because yeah, if we happen to get this done relatively quickly, it has to be a record of some sort if we can just... It took an entire month. Day 63, we finally were able to get a blueprint from our Archie. One nice thing at least is it was the Hilda drone, which is my favorite drone, so I'll take some solace in that. But damn, we were definitely on quite the little speedrun there, but just got completely held up by the research labs, unfortunately. But overall, still a very, very good run. You'll still see this plot being used on my streams as well. I've kind of transitioned it into a fuel generation plot, awaiting for training gyms to eventually become a thing. And that's it for the speedrun. 63 days it took for me to take a brand new tier 1 plot and be able to get a blueprint right off of it. It was a fun time, definitely a little bit grindy at times, but it's kind of the nature of the tier 1 plots. But that is something that you can even do yourself with the lowest possible entry point with the cheapest style of land plots in Illuvium Zero. I do a lot of Illuvium content here, majority around Arena and Overworld, but I do a ton of Zero as well. I do stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with the exception of holidays with a little bit of Overworld, Arena, and Zero does have a spot right at the end of the stream. The Illuvium Zero cooldown is on every single stream. I do that 10 in the morning Eastern time every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So would love to see you there sometime. I do plan on making a guide as well, something maybe a little bit more in detail compared to what was shown in this video. So if that is something you'd be interested in, or if you're interested in Illuvium at all, by all means, please drop a subscription here on the YouTube channel and join me again sometime soon. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.